Hey guys, thanks for joining. I am sitting in my car with no AC on right now, so it'll be quieter for the video, so let's see how long this lasts. I just want to do a quick check-in video with a couple of, I guess, interesting updates that to me were significant. I've had foot cramps ever since, like, I can remember, since I was like 10 or 8 or a kid. These foot cramps that'll hit you in the middle of the night and they hurt like heck, and like I've tried different elixirs, I've tried stretching, I've tried walking more, I've tried a foot bath, and the foot cramps just persist. They hurt and they're not fun. So I got one the other night, and it was when I had been thinking about moving your conscious intention to certain areas, and of course it hit right when I was nice and comfortable in bed. And when it hit, it occurred to me, like, let me try and put my energy in my foot. And it's kind of weird because I never direct it there. Like, I usually have my energy, going up the chain 1 through 7 in the energy centers. So putting it in my foot was just kind of a bizarre sort of last-ditch effort. But again, like, every time this happens, it's annoying because it keeps me up and I can't fix it. And it's actually quite an acute pain. So when it hit, I was like, all right, I'm going to direct my energy to my foot and see what happens. And I kid you not, the instant I directed it to my foot, it vanished. And I shook my husband. I was like, babe, my foot cramp just went away. It just completely went away. And I was just so ecstatic about it. And I know it's not a curing miracle of, epic proportions. But for me, it meant a whole lot because these foot cramps suck. They're no fun. And it just was, I guess, the sign and the symbol of being able to direct my energy there, and it just dissipated instantly. So that was really cool. So I had the foot cramp curing the night before, and that was pretty cool, and I was ecstatic about that. But the next day I was actually working at my computer, and I was working on the previous video, previous to this one. That is the video for like meditation tools and tips. So I was putting that together, and I was kind of like intensely concentrating on that and like staring at my screen. So I'd spend like multiple hours during the day just kind of like trying to knock that one out and get the graphics right and everything. So I'm staring at my screen, and this weird like flashing image comes up. And I don't know how to put it besides when maybe you've stared at like a bright image for a little while. Say that you're in your bed at night and you turn your phone on, or there's like a bright light and you stare at it, and then you close your eyes, you kind of see, I guess, like the negative image of that bright light. So it was like that, except it didn't have any negative image associated with it. So I was just looking at my screen, and there's this like C kind of shape that starts flashing in my eyes, and I was like, what in the world? And I was trying to work through it because I really wanted to get done, and I was like, no, I'm just going to power through. And it got to the point that it was so flashing, it was almost like a strobe light, like flashing in my eyes, that I couldn't concentrate. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can't concentrate on what I'm trying to prepare here. So I just was like, well, I'm going to have to lay down in bed and just lay there. And I was kind of annoyed. I thought it was some kind of like weird nervous glitch. But then I laid there in bed, and I closed my eyes, and I put my hand over my eye like this. It was really dark. And the image was this kind of C shape. It wasn't big, and it wasn't super duper bright, but it was a very intensely focused little bitty C shape that had like, it was flashing, it was strobe, and it was morphing, okay? So it was like all these geometric, lots of little bitty triangles that were all multicolored, and it was morphing. So it wasn't like when you see like the negative of something, like a bright light hits you in the eye, the negative tends to stay the same. Like the image stays the same when you close your eyes. I've done that before. But this wasn't the same image. It wasn't static. It was like this little C shape of all these little triangles that were colored, and they were moving. They were fluid. And so there'd be like purple and pink triangles, and there'd be green triangles, there'd be red triangles, and it would just kind of like constantly move, and it looked different every time I looked at it. And I mean, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel like enormous amounts of love, and it wasn't what Dr. Dispenza calls a brain download. It was not that. But it was neat. It was a really cool image. I've never had that before. I don't know where it came from, but I thought it was cool. And I just bear in mind that every day that you do these meditations, the particular one I'm doing, Dr. Dispenza prompts you to ask for a sign from the quantum. And for me, those things are a sign. Those are a sign. and I read them as such. And I think, there could be people that could pick this apart and they could say, well, that happened because of X, Y, and Z. Your foot cramp went away because you had it tilted a certain angle, or blah, 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 or your diet the night before. I'm sure there is a plausible explanation, but I'm not really concerned with the how. I'm just concerned that it happened, and that to me it was significant. It meant a lot, and it meant a sign that something divine was moving in my life. So I don't have any amazing manifestations or miracles at this point, but they're little things. And I think day to day too, my just every day to day existence is happier. It's more positive, and it's like slowly kind of chipping away, like making like an ice sculpture. You don't just make a sculpture like instantly. You carve away at it and you chip away, and for a while it's formless and it's not interesting and it looks like a big blob, but you just keep, you start to make an image, a visage, right? And so that's kind of how I see my practice. It's right now it's like a blob, but eventually it's going to have features and a face and an expression on it. It's going to be a very well-defined sculpture. So I'm keeping with the work. I'm over 2 months now on the meditations. I feel great. I've been doing them at 4 a.m. every day. And one last thing I wanted to talk about too was a sort of like a pat myself on the back moment. And I think this is more of like how I'm evolving. But a couple recordings ago, I talked about sort of opening up to opportunity, right? Because I was doing an abundance meditation, and Dr. Dispenza says that abundance comes in the form of opportunities. So my dad a couple weeks ago had really wanted to help me get a car, because he knows that we have one that's kind of like limited on range. It's electric. And, I was really moved by that. I'd never had any kind of help like that from my family. And I was like, well, at first I wanted to say no, but then I thought, okay, well, why not? This is an opportunity to let me say yes. I hadn't been working on manifesting a car. I hadn't been on my radar too much, but I saw it as an opportunity, so I said yes. Well, I applied with my bank, and y'all know my credit story. My credit is not pretty. It's actually a lot better than it was last year, but it's still rebuilding, and the bank denied me. I found that out today. I'm not worried about the car. I wasn't trying to manifest that. I'm letting that be. If it comes with a different bank, fine. But the thing I'm proud about is my reaction to that, because old me would have received that news and I would have felt like a failure, and I would have felt ashamed, and I would have felt trapped, and all of a sudden I would have wanted this thing because I couldn't have it that I didn't really want before, and now I want it, and now I'm trapped. And so new me was just kind of like, okay, I'll try applying online. If I can get financing online, great. If I can't, I'll work with what I have, right? So I just feel like for me that I feel like I graduated. It feels like a graduation ceremony, that this thing came up that wasn't ideal, and I didn't let it turn me into like a sour, feelings of failure or unworthiness. Those are things I struggle with in my meditations, is to feel worthy and to feel happy and to feel abundant. And I have to remind myself, sorry for the mic. I have to remind myself that abundant people do not feel lack. Abundant people don't feel like failures. Abundant people don't feel ripped off or victimized or anything that old me would have felt receiving that not so pleasant news. So I just wanted to share that story. I think the most exciting thing of anything that has transpired so far in my meditative work is just the transformation of my personality, and genuinely feeling okay, genuinely feeling fine and happy and blessed regardless of the situation, if it's ideal or not. I think that's just so cool, because I've struggled with depression in the past, and anyone out here watching with depression knows that you can't just snap your finger and say, okay, I'm happy. You can't do that. It doesn't work that way. And it takes something deeper, like going into the autonomic nervous system and reprogramming it, and telling yourself throughout the day, watching yourself, staying on top of yourself. And when you see that bad thought creep in, just saying change. I say that out loud, and I've probably said it 10 times today. Like, there's been 10 opportunities that have presented themselves for me to be old me and complaining me and unworthy me and lacking me and jealous me and envious. And I don't want that anymore. And that's kind of what I thought too today when the auto loan was denied. I just kind of thought, me getting mad at this isn't worth leaving this elevated state. So I'm really happy. I'm excited. And I appreciate you guys following my journey, and I hope that the work is manifesting some amazing things for you guys as well. Thanks.